All right, test. I can see that we're coming through loud and clear. Fantastic. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to turn down the music a bit for everyone. And welcome to my stream for today. So Saturday. What are we doing? Well, we're going to basically be working on continuing on the PowerShell Selenium MVP module. So a couple of things that we're going to be working on today is basically refactoring the MVP activity command. Actually, before I do anything, let me just check to make sure that I can hear myself. That's working. Cool. And then from that, we will be maybe doing some documentation. It's pretty close to the end now, so and then actually maybe starting to write some end-to-end / integration tests, and hopefully we get some sort of we can actually see it kind of working for an actual release. So things that I've done in the meantime is I've also still need to fix up unit testing within the GitHub pipeline. So that's now set up, it's working. There's still some issues with it. For instance, if it's not properly invoking tests, in the sense that I'm not getting a failure of the pipeline. If it fails, I also need to develop a release pipeline and things like that. So that's also a thing. We also need to finish the build package, or the build script. So that basically builds the module. We also, so we need to create a module manifest. We also need to create a Choco package. So I want to basically also release 2 Chocolatey. After that, it is, it's pretty close to finishing the documentation. So I've started documentation as well. Just kind of start getting that kicked off and getting that those bits and pieces moving. So that's cool. You can. It is, all these changes have been pushed into GitHub. So if you jump on github.com, you can see that under Selenium MVP, it is basically, we can see it's starting to fill out nicely now. I'm going to add some about and some releases and packages and all that kind of good stuff. But we're slowly getting there. A few extra things. Obviously, we've got to build pipelines, which are now popping in there. You can see here we can run our PowerShell tests. The Windows tests run. The core tests are not working for some reason, so we might need to fix something up there. But all the PowerShell tests are running, so all the unit tests are that. We also need to finish up the unit tests for the module. That hasn't been fully done yet because I wanted to hold off until this refactor, which is going to be shuffling a few things around. So I'm kind of just on the fence about that. So we've got a couple extra things to do there. So let's get stuck into it. I think we've got some stuff to do, so feel free to jump on, ask questions, and have a bit of a chat. Always up for a good chat. So move some cables out of the way here because my mouse. I need like a really deep desk, because I find that my mouse is like really far back, and then so everything kind of just gets pushed to the back, including my keyboard. So I've got this nice mouse mat, but I can't, like, it's kind of just been pushed right to the back because I just don't have enough depth. So anyway, all right, so let's go ahead and start refactoring this. So MVP activity at the moment doesn't support CSV import. It doesn't support tables. So all we need to do is effectively move a lot of lift and shift, a lot of this code, and drop it into a nested function, so that it can actually go ahead and execute that. So what I'm thinking of doing is creating a private function And I'm going to call it new MVP activity. Oh, there is already one there. Interesting. Well, this is interesting now. It's already, how's this working? Because everything kind of needs to be pushed down a step. Yeah, it creates a new MVP activity there. This is actually now getting very interesting because you have MVP activity, which effectively wraps new MVP activity within it. I kind of want to push it into its own function. What should I call it? Because construct, everything like that is basically the equivalent of a new in an approved verb. So, what to do here? What to do here? You can call it invoke. Like, I still want to keep the same code. Like, I don't really want to start rewriting tons of code. Let's have a look at the PowerShell preverbs. We could use add. No, because it basically is going to construct it. So new is actually best. Yeah, I think a new's the best, so we're going to probably have to cannibalize that. Thinking about it. So then what would this become if we're... because effectively... Or do we refactor new MVP activity itself? Because the way new MVP activity really, all it does is it basically takes the fixture and then invokes it. So it could... No, because it's all the wrapper. It's the wrapper. Maybe we change this to invoke MVP activity. And then that kind of cannibalizes, but that makes available new MVP activity, which then I can use. Yeah, let's do that. Let's change it to invoke. Okay, so what we can do here is just do a simple find replace. MVP activity. Let's just rename the whole thing. Are we sure? Just go through them all. Yep. Let's go ahead and rename that. Change that. Now we just need to update our tests. Quickly. Okay, so that's that's given me that. So now I just need to switch this up. Cool. All right, so now I can create, I'm just going to go ahead, just make a quick commit. Oh, damn it. What's it doing here? A client, a fun thing. Client a conference book. Accidentally climbed the conference book into this Git. How do I get rid of that? Just clean this up. Hopefully that cleans it up. Please clean up. Alright, so let's try and see if that. I don't think that is going to fix it. Gosh. Let me just. That's a problem. I need to remove that. This is why I was not paying attention last night and I completely monged it up. Easiest thing to do right now. So don't want to submit anything to do with this module. That's what I'm going to do. Give me 2 seconds, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to recline it. Hopefully I don't muck this up. Okay, so the only thing that we've got is libraries, and I'm just going to quickly clone the module test archive, GitHub, git ignore. The temp. Cool, yeah, so I'm just going to recline it and then fix it up that way. So, I actually need to recline it. I'm just going to quickly go AFK for a couple of seconds because I need to access my password database. Give me 2 seconds, sit back, enjoy the music, and we'll be back with you. All right, so I'm in there now, so I'm getting ready to clone it again, and then we can carry on. So, this is gonna break something. I'm just making a quick backup of my repo before I do that, because I don't want to have happen what happened last time, which it won't, because it's already, like, I've been pretty diligent with commits. I just don't want to lose these changes already. But popping this React site is just agonizingly slow, literally. So much JavaScript files that need to run for React. I do not like React for that reason. Alright, so let's just quickly bin that, and then we can go ahead and create a new one. So, waiting for this to complete, still taking sweet time. I'm just going to go ahead and close that and reopen. Close folder. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, this is nearly done. So another minute, and then we'll fix this up. So while we're doing that, I might as well copy this. Come on. I don't even need all these files. I just need to make sure I have my test files. That's it. The React side. Such a headache. And it's copying so slow, like it's literally copying at 280, 300 kilobytes a second. Because there's just really small files. Like it's got 11 meg to go. It's just so slow. Come on. All right, cool. All right. Now what we can do is I'll just bin those directories. This is going to take ages to delete, isn't it? It's calculating. Oh, come on. Didn't anticipate this. Worst comes to worst, I might just, it's going to be the React site. The joys of React. Okay, no, that's gone, it's gone. Cleaned up, good. All right, let's go ahead and clone it. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can open it up. Yeah. Cool. All right. Okay, so now if I just quickly jump back. First things first, switch branches. Oh, where's my branches? Just go from here. Alright, so we've got it. Okay, good to go. So now if I go back to my temp directory, go to tests, copy the private, and then we just paste it all back in and it'll basically fix that issue. Moral of the story is pay attention when you do git cloning. I know there's probably a better way of doing it, but for the time being I don't really want to muck around in there. So if we go to private, this is probably gonna, oh, let's break test. This might not. I don't think it will, because I didn't make it to be, yeah, I don't think it'll break the test. So we're just gonna replace the private, then replace the public, and hopefully we should see Oops. And I need to replace the module. Does that change anything? Nope. Okay, we can just fix this other part manually again. All right, so private. We are going to change new MVP activity. Rename it. Let's change it to a code. Got that. Do that. Rename that. Like so. So that's done. That's done. That's done. We're in dev. Yeah, we're in the dev branch. Invoke tests. So tests have been sorted. We need to go ahead and delete the new MVP activity tests because the old one's still there. Oh, and that preps it. Good. Alright, now just quickly push. Okay, cool. Alright, so the next thing we need to do now is grab all of pretty much all of this and then shove it in new MVP activity. So new MVP activity. So the next thing we need to do is don't necessarily need the name, we need the fixture and the argument list. So let's go ahead, pass those in. What I might do is just grab all of this for the time being, shove it in now, and then let's now start refactoring. So let's just drag you down to the bottom and start with refactoring. So this can take a single item, a single invocation of the MVP activity. Distribution areas, yep. Test that the configuration is valid. So some of this can actually be moved up into the top level block because it just doesn't need to be in the lower level. So what we need to do here is work out what we need to gut and what we don't. Contribution areas can stay up in the top level. MVP area, that can stay in here. MVP HTML form structure, that can go top level. Do we need to test the driver? Absolutely. Do we need to test the activity script block here? Yes, we will do it here, and we won't do it up here, so let's get rid of that. Do we need to test the driver up here? No, we don't. Do we need to test that the MVP activity elements are present? Interesting. Well, we don't need to create a new MVP activity up here. That's basically creating a new form. So that can basically stay in here because that's where it needs to remain. Wait for MVP element. Test that the MVP elements are present. Oh, I don't think you even need this. I don't think we need any of this, because this is something that's specific to this. So we can probably gut that. It doesn't need any sort of build. The only thing it needs to do is at least to set up the script blocks. But honestly, thinking about it, wait for MVP. Test SE driver, wait for MVP element. So this waits for the element. That could be placed in the top level. It makes better sense actually to place it up here. I'm going to leave it there actually. Oh. But that actually would be placed. See, this is just architectural design-ish things. I could place it at the top level and then never reference it again. But the risk of doing that is, for some reason, if something was to go wrong with the site, it would not be able to create the element. So maybe not. I'm going to leave it there. There's no point having it here then. So this literally will just remain the same. The only thing that really, contribution areas, HTML form structure, they can get defined up the top. That doesn't need to be defined down in here. Invoke teardown is needed there. It doesn't need to be here because we're not tearing anything down. So that can stay like that. So we've got script contribution areas here. So the thing that I'm probably going to tweak is contribution areas. I'm just going to have a quick find for this. Where is it located? It's in contribution area. Okay. So I think, oh no, I'll leave it as is. We're not having to go over the top. You can. I'm just on the fence. It is adding a PS custom object. Yeah, I'm going to refactor that. So what I'm going to do here is create a new list item. Let's see if I know that there's a that's what I want. Never remember the code, so it's easy just to go and do a quick copy and paste and find it. It's PS custom object, so that can stay as is. And then down in here, interesting, I find it interesting. What I'm going to do, I need to redefine it there as well. So that's fine. So what I'm going to do is grab that, do that. And do that. Just basically clean it up. They can HTML form structure. EP area can go. Okay, so now we've got contribution area. So all we need to do here is just do this. And that cleans that up. And just nest that. So now it just adds it. So that's probably going to break something, but it might not. I don't think it will, because it's literally using the same logic. So what we need to do now is head back to here. Okay, so get rid of invoke. Okay, so this, so we got if invoke teardown, that can go, all this can go. Yeah, this can all go. And then the end here, beginning teardown. So this pretty much stays the same in that sense. Invoke teardown will stay the same. Contribution area. Contribution area is that. Is that. That can go. Because it gets torn down in the. Oh, this is the problem. Nah, I don't think that's. I think this all needs to be moved into here. And the reason why is because I think there's dependencies on it being torn down. If it doesn't get torn down, that's going to cause an issue. So I am going to move it all back in. That's fine though. So I'm just going to do it that way. So that means then that can go. Effectively can all go. That can go as well. Okay, cool. All right. So effectively it's just a copy, straight copy and paste. let me have a quick look at what's inside of new MVP activity. Okay, as long as I'm just making sure that as long as those teardowns are in the correct spot. That's within the finally. Yep, cool. All right. So what we can do now is we can start refactoring this. Let's just go start this now. So what we're going to do, just quickly clean this up. Make sure that that's good. Yep, that's good to go. Sweet. All right. So next thing we need to do is pass an array. So now it actually expects an array of hash tables. That's still single entity, which is fine. All right, so then the final thing we need to do is pass the CSV file. This is really going to be the this will be a position 2. So the idea here is that you can pass it a CSV file independently of it. So you'll have a CSV path, the name, and the CSV path, and that's it. So what we can do here, let's just quickly invoke this. Just want to see what it looks like. So you got name. Yeah, so if we go CSV path, you can see it's not there. Okay, so what's the first thing we need to do here? We need to validate that path exists. Now we can validate it within the validate script, but I feel like people are not going to read it. I'm not going to read the error if it happens. So this is actually going to introduce an interesting problem. And we also need to write a validator for this as well. So effectively it needs to be able to create a mapping between the two values. This is going to be tough actually, because what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to read the area, and then we're going to need to read the contribution area. And then from that we'll need to extrapolate what properties are present within the CSV file that correspond to either the element or the actual name. So this is going to be interesting. So what does that mean? We need to validate our CSV. So I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a private function, call it validate CSV, or test CSV is probably a better one. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is really where we're going to need to actually do a lot of that stuff. Now, I don't particularly want to do that yet. What we're going to want to do is basically do a for each. We're going to need to make some sort of object by collection. I'm just going to do this for the time being, where basically either the basic common data can be provided. So the CSV file needs to be able to test it, and then what it needs to be able to do is dynamically create the fixture based on the data. So essentially you pass the CSV file, what it needs to do is map the data, which is, it's not hard at all, like it's not that difficult, but essentially it needs to dynamically build a fixture to be able to pass into new MVP activity. So that's really, that's really where the logic's going to need to be. How to do that. This is actually a little bit more complicated than I thought. That's all right, man. The thing is, the framework's in place. So, for instance, within MVP activity itself, you don't necessarily, if you provide within the argument list the actual the area and the contribution area, you don't need to pass it into the module. Oh, sorry, into the actual fixture. It doesn't need to be defined in the fixture, which means all I need to do is just put that in a hash table, and then that's it. So yeah, so what we might do is actually let's do that. Let's do the CSV part first, because that's actually quite interesting. I'm going to call this fixture collection. What we need to do here is say here's commandlet dot what's it called, parameter set. Okay, so what we're going to do is just going to do a case statement for our switch. And what we're going to do here is basically just say default. Actually, we don't need to do that. We can just assume that it's default. We can say arguments. Say Csv file. We can just say test CSV, and then we can say fixture collection. Import. Let's call it test. Input CSV, and then we can just go import CSV. Something along those lines. And then what we can do here is just a CSV path. So it'll run test import CSV. Let's just call it definition. Let's just call it test definition CSV filter. I don't like that. Let's just call it just test CSV. Then we can just go basically import we can go import CSV definition. Actually, let's just call it new CSV definition. And then basically pass the path, and it creates a new definition for us within a nice fixture collection. And that will be good to go. So that is with fixture collection is just effectively going to be our arguments lists. Yeah, so it's going to be a two-step process. So effectively with the CSV file, we need to be able to create the fixture, which is the actual the script block, and then we need to be able to create the input for that. So actually it should be a fixture. So fixture would just be that new CSV fixture, and then should I just go and do? What I'm thinking of doing is actually building it out in a script block. Now, new MVP activity doesn't need a name. Okay, cool. So, hello. I just started following you 10 minutes ago. Can you please explain in a few words what you're working on? So it's a submission tool. It's a domain-specific language similar to Pesta. It's the best way to describe it. Tool that what it allows you to do is submit your MVP contributions to the website via PowerShell. Now, this uses Selenium, which is not the best way to use the product. The best way to actually achieve this. But the reason why it's using Selenium is because new MVP nominees. So if I was to invite you to become an MVP, you'll get a link which you have to fill out, all that kind of stuff. And you have to add your contributions. That specific contributions can only be done through the website. Now, MVP, once you become an MVP, you get an API and you can use the API, which is perfectly fine. But if you don't have that API, like if you're not an MVP, you're kind of stuck with using the portal, and it's a really arduous process. It takes ages. So the goal there is effectively just to automate this entire process using Selenium, so that people can actually still have some sense of automation. But what I'm doing here is effectively just building it as a domain specific language, and then making it so easy that people can't, I don't say people can't, but it's not child's play, but it's really easy to use. So it just makes it really accessible to everyone within the PowerShell space, but outside the PowerShell space as well. Hey Marv, how you going, mate? So that's really what it's doing. It's just basically an automation tool for contributions. I'm going to give a bit of a demo later, but I kind of need to fix this issue. I'll get this over the line first. No worries. Thank you very much. Very interesting. Yep. No worries. All right. So what we need to, I'm literally just humming and hawing about the architecture right now. So I'm thinking of writing it as a hash table right now. So you can see here I've got a hash table, arguments list, and then I was just going to get the parameter set and then pass it in. But I'm on the fence about that. I am really on the fence about that. Okay, this is what we're going to do. So the thing is that none of these, name is the only one that's common. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to create our parameters, and then we're just going to build them. So parameters.fixture for arguments. is just going to be fixture, frame star, and then we can just splat them in. Argument list. Here's argument list. Ooh. No, I can't do that. Sorry, but do you know that test SE activity is test.ps1 rather than test.ps1? I'm not sure what you're working on. But do you know that test SE activity is test.ps1 rather than test.ps1? Not that it's what you're working on. Oh, okay, yeah. It can be, yeah, that's fine. No worries. The problem that we're having here is that I actually can't pass the argument list directly into it yet. It's not within any, the arguments because within this parameter set, because it can accept an array of an array. So this is really interesting. How am I going to write this logic? This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to leave that as is. We're going to add to it later. What we're going to do here, so fixture just gets added. CSV file, so test that. Then the fixture can be this. And then we're going to make the arguments list because it's outside of that. Whoops, I'm just going to do this. Oh, damn it. Okay, we're going to do this. So what we can do here is do like so. And what that does is that we can basically define that variable up here. Now then if we go default, we have, what do we have in here? We've got a single fixture and a single argument list. So we can just effectively do the same thing. We can just go params.fixture. And that can stay as is. Okay, so now let's actually go ahead and invoke it. We don't need the begin and process end blocks, so we can go and get rid of those. We're not using pipeline, so that can go. Okay, so what's it going on there? That's fine. So now what we need to do is and invoke the MVP activity. So let's create the MVP activity. So we can do here, just go for each argument and arguments list. And then what we can do here now this will replace each time that it iterates through that list. So that's perfect. And then all we need to do here is then go new MVP activity. What we might quickly do here is do a quick write information. Could also, actually, we can just do a write host, that's fine. Not the. I'll make that a string literal to prevent any sort of regex shenanigans. So that basically will just kind of print out the name. Looks kind of nice. So essentially what we've done here is now we've got that wrapper built. And we can just use splatting to kind of simplify the logic so that based on the parameter set, a different, yeah, that works well. So based on the parameter set, it effectively, if it needs to invoke the fixture, it will. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then basically does what it needs to do. So the CSV file then keeps it nice and clean there. You can see that. Then we just test the schema. Honestly, I'm just going to let it just run like so. And then if it throws a terminating error, it throws. So it'll actually throw back to the parent. And then obviously create yeah, and then so essentially yeah, go ahead and create the schema, create the fixture, create the arguments. So first thing we need to do is test our schema. So let's go ahead and create this. And might as well go ahead and create that. Okay, so we need to test the CSV schema. So is autocomplete going to give it to me? No. So what we need to have here is literally just thinking out loud what we kind of need. I think we just need an input of the CSV path, so that's fine. I'm just going to grab this, so we having to. Alright, so shift, cool, get rid of that. We don't need parameter set here, so we can get rid of that. We don't need positions, it needs to be mandatory. We just call this little path. Actually, just call it path, that's fine. So what we need to do here is step number 1. Test the path. Does it exist? I'm not going to write the errors into for the little path. I'm not going to add the errors into the localized data for the time being. We can clean that up later, and I just want to get the logic fleshed out. I'm also going to quickly close and reopen VS Code because I want my autocomplete back. We just use PS bound parameters to literally pass it straight through. We just compile it to say not error action violently continue. Cool. All right, so now what we can do is this is a tough one. So we need to actually import CSV file. What we can do here is nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do this. Actually, no, I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to wrap an error around it. Well, I really can just put this in the localized data, but for the time being, I'm just going to do this. Just to kind of get me over the line and get my logic fleshed out. So I'm going to import the CSV file. So the next thing that we need to do is validate if the area, the contribution area, columns are present. So I'm just going to quickly build a quick CSV file. Actually, no, I can just do it in PowerShell. I was like, what am I doing in here? Let's get it's custom object. I'm just going to the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm just intrigued to see like it doesn't have to be perfect because there is valid so this validation, all it needs to do is ensure that the required fields are present, and then it can actually, as long as it can invoke it, it will. There is checks within invoke MVP activity itself, so it'll go and check, hey, you know, are all the bits and pieces present, but Yeah, as long as it's able to construct what it needs to construct, it's fine. So, what I'm doing here, then I just import the CSV path /temp/csv. So I'm just going to have a quick. Okay, cool. Yep. So type your PS custom object. Fantastic. Okay. So what we can do here is we need to validate the area and contribution area are present. So the way we can do that is we can just basically go CSV dot PS object dot I'm going to have a look at the base object. What am I looking for? Something. Properties. That's what I'm looking for. You can see the length, the rank, sync read only, fixed size, synchronized. It's not there. What are they? There are no properties. Why then? I don't have to use get member. No, I think I'm gonna have to, but I don't think I did. Just looking for a name. Let's see if we have it there. Okay, they're just methods. Yeah, they're just methods. Okay, cool. We'll just use get member. Alright, so we just need to validate that they exist, so I can just go get member. And then we can just say name contains oops. Oh, it's a one to many, that's why. Okay, cool. Alright, so what we can do here is we can just basically just create the dependencies, required columns. What's the column? Required top level columns. And we can just say area. Now it's not case sensitive, it's case insensitive, which is perfect. We can just wrap that like so. Say.name is, and what we can do here. Oops, we can do this. do that, go for each object. And we can basically say contains. No. We're not going to do that. We're going to do where object. We can say missing top level columns. We can say contain, contains blah. And what we can do is flip the operator. So now we can just say so what we can do is say now if missing top level columns count is not equal to 0, we can then basically say we can return that. Now we're going to throw. And then what we can do here, say for each object, error. Actually, no, we didn't need to do that. So if we're missing something, we can say missing. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm just going to do this. So I just need to quickly work out what it's going to happen if I do a join using that. Perfect. So what we can do is just say missing top level columns and then go at that, the format operator, say missing top level columns, wrap that inside of parentheses. And that way we can just dynamically add them like so. So we don't actually have to do any sort of crazy logic. Cool. All right, so now we validate our top level content. What we can do now, we need to get the HTML structure. Oh, okay. We need to get the area. I'm also just thought of an issue. What happens if you have a CSV file that has different areas and contribution areas? So if we go MVP activity here, this will create a single fixture. I don't think that's the right thing to do, because it means that, oh, this is a tough one, because ultimately you could, like, the way that I see people can use this is that they're just going to basically shove all their contributions in that one CSV file with all the different kinds of fields set out so that it's done. The problem with that is that it makes it really difficult for them to kind of do it, like to kind of get that data and structure it. Do I make it so that you can import multiple types from the one CSV file, or should I not? The reason why I don't particularly want to is because it complicates the logic a lot more. It also complicates, excuse me, it also complicates the logic from their perspective as well, because basically you're going to have, you know, CSV file here. It's just going to be like just columns everywhere, and I think that just complicates it so much. Honestly, I think it's easier and cleaner for each area they have a separate CSV file, and that way it ensures that the it's cleaner for them, but it's also easier for me. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So what we need to do there now is we need to do an additional check looking for any sort of differences within the areas. So we need to ensure that the areas are all the same. Easiest way to do that is group object. So set CSV dot area group objects by, I'm just going to CSV group object by property, and we can just say area CSV property. Okay, so you can see there's two items within there. If there was one, that would be by name. Okay, so I just want to quickly make sure that count is equal. Length is 1. Is 2. Okay, so we can say is what did we just say? Oh, so I could just, yeah. So we can just say now the other thing that I'm intrigued is to see what happens. I can't remember if group objects case sensitive or not. So what I'm going to quickly do. I'm just going to call this name, I'm going to call this value. Call this Tim. Let's go ahead and re-import that CSV. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So it's case insensitive. That's what I need to check. Okay, cool. So ensure that all areas are the same. Group. Yep. Treat the area. Group items. That length is not equal to 1. I'm just going to say that. It's a definite. Do here is just, oh man, I'm writing too much JavaScript. We can just say grouped items dot name slash join. Okay, let's just do that. Let's just do that. Yeah, let's just do that. So what that will do is effectively show an error if there's some sort of issues with getting the contribution areas. Cool. So formatting error, validation failed. Can I have different areas within the same CSV file? I can write some blurb about that later. All right, cool. So that's basically will fail that out. So now the next thing we need to do is now we have the area. Grouped item 0 dot name. Only care about the name. We now have our area. We can then perform a lookup to work out what columns we need, and then basically do those checks. So what we can do here is we can use get HTML form structure. We can just pass the area. So this effectively returns a PowerShell object containing all the data that's required to actually submit the actual requests. So what we can do here is, like with contribution areas need to be present, but they don't need to be mandatory. So we've done that. So the only other things we need to check for are is the actual values. So now we have our HTML form structure. I'm just going to quickly run the loader. This kind of just dot sources the module into memory, and then hopefully HTML form structure, that's an article. You can see here it returns effectively a schema that we can use. So what I'm going to go back here is we can now go, okay, we can look for the name or the element. So validate the. So this is always a tough one as well, because we need to look for the is required. So we need to find all the element, all the content that's required. Where object, and we can just say where what is required. So effectively, we need to just get everything that's required. This means, yeah, we don't need any of the formatting or anything like that. Maybe we're just going to leave it as is. We don't need to do any selects here. We just need to validate it. So, best way to validate this. So you can see here we've got an element and a name. We need to validate if the name or element is present. So I think the best way to do this, gonna stick it inside a where object. And we can say where name. As well. Let's grab the column names, and then down here we can use that same variable to validate here. So we can say name is not in. This is where we're going to have to refactor our flip our logic, where it's not in that, and yeah, only validating it. So the issue that I'm wondering is that I'm like, this won't actually return the elements. Sorry, the actual column names or the names that are present. But I'm thinking about it, and the more I think about it, it doesn't matter. Oh, actually, it might matter, because the other question is that should we fail it if there's columns in there that are not present in the CSV file? Because then ultimately what we can do is just literally take the row with the column names and then pass it straight in. If there's nothing, if there's no additional columns, it won't cause issues with the script. Because then the logic would be required to only extract the column names that it needs, and do it that way. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is go down that route, so it extracts what it needs and then goes that way, so that you can have additional columns on the end. Don't know why you would, but it's a little bit more forgiving. Otherwise we might have some issues. And then we can say is name or element. It's not even element, it's element ID, but anyway, that needs to be fixed. So yeah, HTML form structure, yeah, where object, blah, 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 is not in that as well. And what we're going to do is say, missing HTML columns, missing And then we can just do the same kind of approach. Is not equal to 1. Formatting error, validation failed. Column name, missing column. I'm just going to say missing column names for this, because like adding the element, like you can add the element, but I'm not going to publicly advertise it. I'm just going to say name and then do it that way. So that's that. So the next thing that we need to do is so this is only testing it. So I don't need to actually build, like I don't need to return any sort of item. It just needs to ensure that the product is actually going to work. Oh, sorry, the file is valid. So if the column names are present, of the name or element, validate that. I'm just trying to think, is there anything else we need to test? Because we can't really test if the optional ones are there, because realistically we don't really care. Like it'll just go and add what it needs to add. For the time being, I might leave it with that. I do think that there's extra work that's needed in it, but I just can't think of it right now. Yeah, I can't think of it right now. The thing is as well, is to ensure that it's staying, as accurate as possible, I can literally just provide a list of CSV files that people can download that basically have all the columns filled out anyway. So they don't actually need to do any work there, which would fix, a lot of their issues anyway. So this kind of will remove a lot of those issues. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so the next thing we need to do is if we go back, get rid of local loader, contribution area test. We need to create the fixture. This is a little tough. Actually, not really. It's not that tough. So we need to be able to dynamically build a script block out, which we can do. That's no problem. So what we're going to do here, let's just go ahead and create a function. No function. Let's just call it new CSV feature. We need a CSV path. We need to get, so effectively this fixture is what we're going to do is we're going to write a string and like so. We can just do right host, and then all we can do is we can convert it into a script block by passing it into a script block. Actually, and then go new to like right host. Let's create. Yeah, there we go. So we can just go right host, and that now is technically a script block. It's not an invocation, as you can see. It's right host A, but if I was to then call the invoke method, you can see that it runs it. So we can create our code that way by just passing a string into here. Now we don't need contribution area or area because we can define that in the parameter and that will be sorted. So the only thing we need to do is go through the column. So actually this is going to be interesting. So the only thing we need to do is go through the column, bar that, and then go through the column names, and then create the values. Now the values will effectively be passed in as parameters, so we don't have to worry about hard coding anything in there. We only need to pass in the column name. Since we validated and that matches the actual schema, then it will work. So let's go ahead and load the CSV file. So we can just go ahead, get the column CSV name. Let's just go ahead and do this. Get rid of that, we don't need that. And we've got the CSV column names. We're going to exclude area and contribution area. Because they're just not required. And what we can do here is we can then just go CSV column names for each object. We can then effectively say we need to create a dynamic parameter for this. So I think the easiest way to do this is create variables, test, blah. So you can create test. If we go test var, you can see that doesn't work. But if we nest, if we want to call that variable, we can do it like so. Alright, cool. So what we are going to need to do is do this. Our fixture will be this. So if we have a look at the loader, you can see we need to create a parameter. So that's going to be a fun one. That is going to be a super fun one. So we need. So we could just say this fixture. Oh, I just had a thought. We only need to get the things for. I'm just. It's like it's 100% doable. I'm just. Structure. What I'm thinking of is just there's bugs that are popping in my head that I need to address right now, and one of them is we need to get the form structure prior to. We're going to use the form structure as an authoritative source, because if we don't, we're effectively just passing a CSV file, and I don't really want to do that. So we can just go CSV dot area /0. If there's multiple, we just want to get the first one, so that'll get our form structure. And then what we can do is using the form structure. Ooh. What we can do. This is some interesting PowerShell. So I'm going to use the join method to go and get those values. So we're going to get the HTML form structure and filter the data and get column names. I'm going to make this a string literal. That's going to be area. So we need to get the column names that match from the CSV file. So we can get the HTML form structure, where that, and then we're going to go where objects. Actually, no, we're not going to use element. We're going to only use name because that just adds a complexity there. So what we're going to do here is remove that, so it can only use the actual name and not the element within the CSV file. We can add it later, but I just want to get this over the line. And then what we need to do here, if we go back to tests, we can pretty much just take that. Is in CSV column name, so if it's in there, grab it. Okay, cool. So it's got name and CSV column names. So that means the CSV area where object for name is in CSV column names, which is great. So that will give me a list of all the elements that are present, irregardless. And then what we can do there is we can then say we can do HTML form structure join with a comma. I'm just going to quickly do this for a sec. Oh. Okay, we can't use HTML form structure. That'll break. I'm just going to call it form structure. Do that. Okay, cool. So if we go to the fixture here, we've got the form structure. We need to do that. Let's just do that. Oh, get rid of that. Okay, so what I'm interested in is seeing what this looks like. That's what I thought. So if we say .name. Cool, alright, so that's a good start. What's that going to look like? Alright, so what we're going to do prior to the join is we need to effectively wrap it. We need to wrap the bracket. Like so. I'm going to wrap it inside a string literal. Oh, see, this is the problem. Now we got problems. I have no idea what's going to happen here. That's what I thought. Oh, it stopped. Okay. Just hit play again. So what is going on here? So oh, that's what we're going to do. So effectively, we need to go through each of that. We need to format the data of the name and then wrap it inside a curly brace with a $sign. And then within that, then we can actually join them together using our commas. And then that's good to go. So that then is able to dynamically build out our param block. Cool. So now we've created our parameter block. We need to create the fixture. See, the thing is that we actually don't know what we're creating. So, but because we've got the column names, we can just literally for each them through now. So what we need to do here is, for script block, let's take a form structure. Why put the params in curly braces? The reason why, g'day Judd. The reason why I need to wrap them in curly braces is because when they're technically variables, because if you, okay, let me just put it this way. So you got a variable A, but this is a bar is A. Now, because the CSV data that is provided could potentially have space, actually will have spaces in it, because the names that come back, so let me just quickly show you what the names will be like. That is definitely not it. Form structure. So the form, so for instance, you've got the name, number of views. So essentially what I'm doing is that's going to be a column name within the CSV file, number of views. Yeah, exactly. Parameters with spaces. So what I need to do there is I need to be able to dynamically just be able to actually add them. So it keeps it nice for the user. Like ideally I was thinking about using the element, but users are not going to want to use the element. So it actually makes better sense for them to have those spaces, hence why we need to create spaces. Yeah, so what we can then do now is once we've created our fixture, we actually need to create a fixture, sorry. So let's just do a for each object, and then within here, we're going to call it value. So value, if we have a look at our demo code here, so we dynamically created that, and we just need to dynamically create this. But since we know the parameter value and we know the parameter name, which is basic, we know the value, so the value is the input value. Since the value is essentially the column name, and then basically the actual value for that is the parameter or the variable version of that, we can just dynamically add them in. So if we say any risk of duplicates, so that's actually a good thing. We can actually validate that in here. Hang on one sec. Sorry, I think my daughter's actually calling for me, and she sounds like she's just had a baby. Give me 2 secs. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, my daughter just popped her head. She wasn't calling for me, she just wanted mum. Okay, so yes, there is potentially risk for duplicates. So I'm just going to add that to our test. So the test CSV schema will actually validate that with validate duplicates. And that will ensure that everything is great. So that will fix all that. So the other thing that so the test CSV schema will validate for all those issues, and then the new CSV schema is actually just building the data out. Okay, cool. So then we have form structure, script block. So what we can do here is say value. And then what we can do is structure. Say that and that. And we can just say this is that dot name. Obviously, wrap it within a string, and then the value will be that. Which is that parameterized, also parameterized, is that variable with spaces. And I just need to go dot name. And wrap that within a, like so. Wrap that within a sub-expression. And that should work. All right, I'm just gonna have a quick run. Let's see what it looks like. So we got our param block. Let's have a look at script block. Script block. There we go. Look at that. That's cool. Really cool. All right. So you got number of views, number of articles, description, all that's been added. Which, if we have a look at our parameter block, when I actually run it, you can see that they're there. So now we just add them together, join them as one. So now we can just go return our fixture. So our fixture will then be just thinking out loud here now. We actually need to create our fixture. So what we need to do here is actually, I'm interested in something. If I go script block, no, I think create doesn't support it. It doesn't have a parameter. Okay, cool. Okay, so what we can do here now is literally just param block. See what that looks like. As long as it looks right, that's all I care. That doesn't look right, not one bit whatsoever. Actually, no, it is. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. Thought that would make it multi-line. Here's a question: should I make it single line statement, or should I just literally make it multi-line? Like, there's no difference between the execution. The user's not technically going to see it, so it doesn't need to be formatted. Should I format it or shouldn't I? You know what I'm going to do? I've got a better way of doing this. I'm going to format it, but we can just use the begin block here. It's the process block here. And then the begin block, we can just basically say that's the parameter block. And that should give us our script block. Like that. That fixes our issues. And then what we can do here is basically say script block / create / script block. And that is our fixture. So if I run that and then run it's gonna format it. Oh, I don't think that's formatted it correctly. So that's formatted nicely. Just for... I thought... This is the other thing I'm now wondering is what happens if I do this? That works. But see that? But the problem here is that this doesn't work. It's just unformatted. It's not the end of the world to drop a semicolon at the end and then just be done with it. Like it'll execute it. Like the way that it executes it is, it uses AST to validate it, so I don't think there's any issues with it at all if I pass it unformatted. For the time being, I'm going to do that. Just put a statement on the end of it. Goodness gracious. You can see then that it basically will treat them as statements, and that'll just run. What's your thoughts? I think it looks better being formatted, but at the same time though, yeah, at the same time, it's, are we going to see the data? That's the question. I think I'm going to leave it as is for the time being. Because we're not going to need to check it. All right, we're going to leave it as is. All right, cool. Next thing, we need to create some arguments. So let's go ahead. It's the same logic. Might as well just copy and paste all that in. So you got the form structure, and then essentially we create a hash table array. So the easiest way for us to do that is just go CSV. I'll just go hash. Let's call this arguments. We can just go CSV for each object, and then within here we can basically say area. Now you can have different contribution areas, so the way that I'm thinking of doing that, how is that going to work? I think this is going to work. Yep, that's the problem. I just call them contribution area 2, contribution area 3. I think I can just do something like this. Just do something like that. That's what I'm thinking. And then basically, area, contribution area. Then we need to get each of the column names. No worries, dude. Thanks for joining. See you later, mate. I don't need to use add, I can just basically say structure. I'm just going to quickly check is what happens there. Oops, I need to go equal blah. Okay, cool. All right, so we can basically just wrap it inside that, make it a string literal for safe purposes. And what we're going to do here is then go dot name, and then we can set equals we can say equals row equals that. We can say equals row dot name. So what that will do is dynamically add the parameter name with the actual value to the parameter itself. And then we can just do a write output here and say params, which will write it back to our argument list. Good to see you as well. Yeah, no worries, man. It was really good to chat to you, dude. Thanks for joining, man. It's really good. So I'm just thinking about this now. So goes for each of the objects. It's creating a hash table, adding the area to it. We can just call it row. Row. And then we can go form structure for each object params to get the name of the param or the column name, and then add the actual row name and then print it out. Now I'm just thinking about this. I think that's right. Yep, that's right. So that will in turn create our argument list. That's going to dynamically create our arguments list. Okay, cool. All right. And then basically all we need to do is just do this. Alrighty then. So that means that when we create a new activity, it'll create a new arguments list. So now if we go back to MVP activity, you can see the CSV file. then it creates the arguments list, and then passes it through. Okay, cool. That is done. Well, done. Let's leave it there for today. I'm kind of in a bit of a mind fog at the moment. That was, for me, that's, yeah, obviously that's pretty intense PowerShell that you're writing now. You're effectively writing PowerShell to dynamically pass content through. So, thinking out loud now. Let's get the fixture, we have the activity. So just quickly, once we have that, it's pretty much good to go. Yeah. Then the only other thing that will need to be done is obviously write tests and all that kind of stuff, but write the duplication check. That's about it, I think. This piece of logic, obviously we need to test it. That's going to be a significant test. We need to write unit tests for, so I have no idea how we're going to actually, with this, I think CSV arguments is going to be integration tests. Oh, these are going to be integration tests. Actually, no, you can write unit tests. You can just look at the script block AST behind it and then test it that way. And that should be it. Okay, cool. All right, let's leave that there for today. So right, click git commit. Let's leave it there. Save all and commit. Let's leave it there for today, and yeah, probably pick it up next week. Hopefully next week we will be. I'll be writing unit tests for this anyway, and then fixing some bugs and that throughout the week. But I'm hoping at the end of the next week we will be done. And hopefully, I'm hoping we can actually do a full end-to-end and see how it goes. There's a lot that it needs to do, but I think we're very, very close to the end now. From the logic perspective anyway, there's tons of other things to do, but they can come in due time. Anyway guys, thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. There's some very interesting PowerShell that we had to write there. Yeah, I hope you learned something. And yeah, I hope to see you guys next time. Anyway, bye for now.